Hello, I am Chris Timchuk, and this is one of the games I worked on my freshman year, BACONBEARS Tower Defense. When creating BACONBEARS Tower Defense, I wanted to create a game that was ridiculously over the top in theme, but simple to pick up and play, as well as still challenging for the more hardcore gamer. Just by looking at the game, you can see how silly the theme is. We have 14 different pig-themed enemies, 4 breakfast-themed towers, and of course, bacon. One of my major goals while designing BACONBEARS Tower Defense was to create a game that was both fun to play and difficult to master. One way that I accomplished this was through the design and implementation of the different tower types. As the player progresses through the game, they will unlock new types of towers. At first, players can just experiment with the new towers, but in order to beat the game, they will have to use the towers in conjunction. For example, in the beginning of the game, it is perfectly fine to just use the egg towers and syrup towers. However, later in the game, it will be impossible for players to beat the more challenging waves without using the frying pan tower in conjunction with the syrup tower. Another important feature that I worked on was the level design. Since we only had one level, it was important to make sure that that level was dynamic for gameplay. Again, newer players may play towers wherever they please and still progress far into the game, but once the difficulty ramps up, players will need to have correctly placed towers to make sure that they are always dealing damage or hindering the enemy in some way. When initially designing the game, I really wanted to have a huge cast of enemies, and when we settled on the pig theme, I remember just thinking up as many hilarious swine-themed enemies as I could. During production, we are advised not to include too many enemy types because of time restraints and art requirements, but with the pig as a base model for most of our enemies, I knew we could cut some corners. I decided to continue forward with the plan for an abundance of enemy types. Confirmation that this was the right choice was promptly reinforced when we began playtesting. Each week, playtesters were eager to see which new enemy type or what new tower we had implemented, so we used that as a driving force to keep implementing new enemies as well as iterating on our towers. We got some really great reactions when we unveiled the Trojan pig and the flying pig. And when we recorded the narrator introduction for each pig, that really put it over the top. Although towers and pigs are vital to the game design, another very important part are the mechanics. Players play as Waffles the waiter, and it is up to them to stop the pigs from stealing the bacon. When a pig is defeated, it is up to the player to collect the bacon as well as any money that the pig has dropped. Our ideas were simple enough, but we quickly found bugs in the mechanics when we began playtesting. We had a cap on how much bacon that the player could hold, but we never forced them to return it. When we put in the mechanic of a countdown timer until the bacon was spoiled, it only helped us balance the game further. Now I could control how much bacon the player could carry at any time, as well as how quickly they had to return it. In the end, I learned a lot from working on BACONBEARS Tower Defense. Some of the things I learned about were the importance of designing for your players, time management, production management, and I really got my feet wet with systems and gameplay balancing. BACONBEARS Tower Defense is far from perfect, but it is an important stepping stone in my career as a designer. I encourage you to download BACONBEARS Tower Defense from DigiPen Game Gallery and give it a shot. You can also find it and other games on my website as well.